create your pathway. You gotta create your pathway.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Create Your Pathway. I'm Rory, your host, and I interview real people and real jobs so you can know what they're really like. And today I'm interviewing David Simmons for the Transportation and Logistics Pathway. Transportation and logistics is basically how you move all kinds of goods across all kinds of places, right? So by land, like on road or by rail car, by air, which actually includes by drone these days. Amazon has been piloting drone delivery in a lot of places, and then obviously by water. Any given second of any day, there's like a ton of stuff moving around the United States. I get the sense that it's a little bit like putting together a massive puzzle and figuring out how to get things where they need to go on time. So if you're ever someone that's wondered, how can somebody guarantee 2-day delivery? This might be a field that you're interested in. So let's turn now and hear from David. Hey David, it's so good to see you. Thanks for being on this morning.
Well, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So we're talking about transportation and logistics. You have had a pretty long career in that, and you've seen a lot of different sides. Like you've been in the driver's seat, driving a truck. You've also overseen operations and been in a leadership role. So why don't you give us like the condensed version of what has your career looked like to this point?
Well, Rory, I've always had what I called a romance with the trucking industry and the transportation industry in general. I started falling in love with this career as an 8th grader, sitting on the hill at Henderson Junior High School, which ran parallel with U.S. Highway 82. And our teacher, Miss Sally Laughlin, gave us an assignment that we were learning geography. And I don't know where the binoculars came from, but we would take our binoculars and we would look at the trucks as they would come through town and look at the location where they were from. And at that time, it just amazed me of all the vast distances of land that those guys were covering to bring the goods across the United States. So it started there. But I had a 37-year career in transportation and logistics. 26 of those years were actually over the road as a truck driver. I've probably driven 2.3 million miles.
Now, and when you say truck driver, are you talking like 18-wheeler?
18-wheeler.
Big ones. Okay.
Yeah. I've hauled everything from hot dogs to hazardous materials. Now, some people think that's one and the same, but it's not. When I started...
The pay grade is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Ideally.
I started out hauling hot dogs for Bryan Foods in West Point, Mississippi, back in the day, in the early 80s, and wrapped up my career with Walmart as a truck driver. I had probably 2.3 million miles, and I'm proud to say that all of those miles were accident-free. And I tell people it was accident-free because of that romance with this industry.
Yeah.
Then I moved into a management role while at Walmart in safety and compliance and DOT and that sort of thing. Then I actually evolved into an operations manager and retired as a general transportation manager, overseeing all of the outbound transportation operations at our grocery distribution center in Albany, Mississippi.
What's the longest route that you have driven?
The longest route I've driven, when I first started driving, I went from East Coast to West Coast on multiple occasions. I would haul lumber products out of Mississippi, Millport, Alabama, of all places, mainly, up into Wisconsin, in Chicago, Illinois area, and we would get rolled steel back to the south. Okay. And then we would just kind of relay ourselves across the nation, depending on the commodity that needed to be moved.
So when we think about transportation logistics as a career field, I think probably 18-wheelers is one of the first things that comes to our mind. But we've just mentioned 2 other modes of transportation. So by water, and there's a lot of domestic, like it's not just overseas shipments that come by water. There's a lot of domestic shipping that does happen by water. And then there's also rail, and there's also air freight, which is part of this. So flying stuff around, planning it. What are some other ways that somebody could potentially have a career in this field?
Well, it's you name it. I would think transportation and logistics kind of blends in perfectly with just probably about every career path that we talk about through our career expos. But you have transportation planners that are involved. You have people planning your loads that want to maximize you've got 3,000 cubic feet on a trailer. You want to make sure you get so many cartons that you can load. You've got make sure your weight is distributed properly. You've got the railway. You've got your locomotive engineers. You've got your conductors, that sort of thing. Diesel mechanics. Diesel mechanics is huge. Now, one of the things I tell students is right now, and we'll get into, there's a pilot program going on to reduce the driving age from 21 to 18.
Oh, really?
But right now, you have to be 21 years old to begin driving a commercial motor vehicle interstate. But there's a great opportunity for you right out of high school to maybe go learn some diesel mechanics to help you transition into a role. But we have warehouse and distribution specialists, forklift operators, you name it. It's across the board. And it used to be back in, I'll say, the old days, but probably in the 70s, early 80s, we were in a warehouse. We stocked goods in warehouses. But that has evolved into what we call a JIT time frame, just in time.
Right.
So we no longer have the warehouses of days past. When you place an order for something, it actually triggers something all the way back to the natural product stage that this needs to be replenished, and that operation starts immediately. So your warehouses, your trucks, all these trucks you see going up and down the road, they're warehouses on wheels. So just-in-time commodities. So that has opened the door for even a lot more jobs in this industry.
Yeah, and there's other innovations happening too. Amazon, obviously, they've grown a lot even recently, and they've been experimenting with drone delivery. I just saw a news article the other day. The FAA has given them some kind of approval to start spreading out drone delivery. Obviously they've been experimenting a lot with automation in their warehouses, artificial intelligence. And then I've seen different conversations about what would it look like to have high-speed rail systems in the United States, which obviously would. And then, there's the whole conversation about like autonomous vehicles and what Absolutely. That can end up doing for the trucking industry. So whether, there's a lot of potential disruption and I think probably some uncertainty, but that also means, like, as you say, there's a lot of different ways to potentially have a career in the transportation and logistics industry. It doesn't necessarily mean being in the driver's seat or in the control seat of a vehicle. Although I totally get, I love going on road trips. I'm going on one this weekend. So I totally understand why, being able to have a career where you're all over the highway system and you get to see so much of the United States. I can see the romantic appeal of it for sure.
Yeah, the growth potential of this industry, I think it's unimaginable right now, even though we are where we are. But there's a lot of opportunities. 95% of all consumables are shipped by truck. 70%, I think, of all tonnage is shipped by truck. And for all of this to evolve into automation and the drones, and that's just going to open the door for probably areas that a lot of that we have no idea where it's going. A lot of those haven't been created yet. They're still in the imagination stage.
I agree. So, now we haven't talked yet, but you're also a career coach. So you get to spend a lot of time helping students think about what are my next steps? What am I doing? I wonder, let's find the intersection of this. So thinking about the field that you're most familiar with and your role in giving students good advice for how they can prepare themselves to move in that direction. What's some advice that you would have, whether it's some general life advice, which I know you've got a lot of, but maybe specifically if they want to aim at this career field, what are some things that they could start thinking about now?
Well, someone asked me the other day, why am I in this career field? I retired from this industry, and why did I want to be a career coach? And my answer is nobody buys soft ice cream. That's my answer. Okay. I've actually had to sit in the seat in the management role and have a refrigeration trailer we keep 20 degrees below zero, outbound, ready to go to the store, and the unit goes kaput on us. And for me, I'm thinking maybe it just needs fuel. Maybe it needs a new battery. Then you walk out there and you see hydraulic fluids, and it's more than that.
Something else going on here.
And then you realize that your only certified refrigeration technician available is not there that day.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm going to tell people that's a feeling of hopelessness that I compare to that guy out there or gal that may not have a job or may not have a skill. But we found ourselves recruiting Memphis, Nashville, other states, trying to entice certified refrigerators. That's just an example.
Okay.
Of technicians to ours. So I wish we could have that pipeline of workforce available here in our own backyard. And
that doesn't require college, right? Like that kind of technical training. That's you go, you get trained, you learn how to do it, and then you probably make pretty good money, I would imagine.
Oh yes, yeah, you make great money. The certification for those type jobs, probably a little bit more than a high school diploma, but not necessarily a 4-year degree.
Sure.
I encourage students to take advantage of the community colleges and the associate's degrees that they offer and the certifications, because they want to be the best of they can be in that role, whether it's a diesel mechanic, auto body repair, or certified refrigeration technician, or whatever. But eventually, you may want to move from that role into a supervisory role or a management role, and you will have those certifications and degrees already in your back pocket because you planned ahead for that. So, but I tell students, we go into the classroom a lot and I ask them what their definition of a career is. And of course, you could probably guess some of the answers that we receive. The first one's money. Okay, everybody wants money. Second one's job. I even had a student tell me it was a place to go. All right. So,
all right.
But the definition of a career that we want them to take away is their career is actually their vehicle of choice to help them achieve their life's dreams. And we get students thinking about what do they want to do? Who do they want to be? Who do they want to become? What do they want to be, do, and have? And let's kind of work around some of those visions and see if we can develop a career that fits your interest and abilities.
Yeah, so let's camp on that for a second, because that's really profound. So in other words, the career, if I can use some slightly different language to make sure I'm hearing you right, it's not like the career is the end-all be-all goal. A career is a strategy to help you bring about some vision for what you really want your life to look like. And so that's the place to start. If you're a student, is thinking about what do I really want? Who do I want to become? Even something like money. Money's just a strategy. Money's getting you something. What's that thing that you want to get by the way of money? And then you can step back and say, well, there's a lot of potential careers that might be good strategies to move you there. That's what I hear you saying.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if you're working towards, I tell students, if you're working towards your dreams instead of a paycheck, everything changes. Yeah,
it makes a big difference.
Careers can be fun and meaningful because we all know people who hate their jobs.
Right.
So, and we don't want to spend the majority of our lives, going through a job we just happen to land in.
Yeah.
As opposed to one we seek out and we prepare for.
So, what are some of the maybe character traits or mindsets that students can start to develop to make it more likely they're going to get these kinds of jobs if they apply for them?
When we go around, we visit some industries. We would ask them, what do they need from today's workforce? Where can we help them?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, give us the top 5 things. Give us maybe the top 10. But we came with pretty much 3 of the same thing they were telling us. Number 1, we need people to, after we hire them, to actually show up for work. So number 1. Number 2 thing they needed was for their employees to have the ability to work in teams. The number 3 thing they needed from their employees was to come to them with ambition. So we talk about those 3 things in our classrooms, and if you took, we talk about the foundational qualities that you must have to build positive self-image and positive relationships, and then we talk about goal setting a lot. We teach goal setting, but some of our initial classes, we focus on integrity, honesty, loyalty, character, even faith, love, and hope. All of those things that will help you climb the ladder to reaching all of those dreams that that you have in mind for yourself.
Okay, David, so what is the one thing that if students want to get in this career that they need to know?
Well, students need to realize that it takes education, training, and certification. And know that this is a highly regulated industry, transportation and logistics. The trucking aspect of it is regulated by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration.
Okay.
Just go to fmcsa.gov and give you an idea of all of the regulations that are involved in interstate transportation. And drivers, they need to know the rules and regulations. The hours of service, there's a limit to how many hours a truck driver can drive a day. They're limited to 11 hours per day in a 14-hour time period. They can't drive more than 70 hours in an 8-day span.
Yeah.
All of that is monitored very closely. They are truck drivers. A lot of transportation workers are expected to pass drug and alcohol random testing multiple times during the year. They have to be physically fit, medically fit. They have to pass a DOT physical every 2 years or less in some cases. So trucking companies, transportation industries is held to a high level of standards and compliance and safety. And students must know you got to have a CDL, and they can start working towards that today. Commercial driver's license issued by the state in which they live.
What advice do you have for students right now?
For students, all students really, but if you're interested in becoming an over-the-road truck driver and involved in transportation logistics as a career, first thing I'd say is keep a clean driving record. Practice good and safe driving habits. And I just want to highlight the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration currently has a pilot program that's testing the waters, so to speak, about the feasibility of lowering the driving age from 21 to 18. Okay. Now, this would allow 18 to 21-year-olds the ability to drive trucks.
Yeah.
So I look for this to be successful, but highly regulated with minimum training requirements through partnerships with community colleges and commercial training academies. But keep a clean driving record. Pay attention to what you're doing out there on the road.
That program, is that something that students can have access to around here now through one of the local partner?
Well, the current program, the student, and they're fixing to move into the current program, you have to have some military background. Okay. National Guard. Okay. So if you're in the National Guard, they will look at you for the pilot program. It is about to move into the second phase to remove the military aspect of it. And they'll test that pilot program probably for about a year. And then based upon the accident safety history and the findings on that, they'll move forward with that. But this is a industry that needs drivers. They not only need drivers, they need good, quality, safe, dependable, family-oriented drivers that are out there on the road. So, and we want safe ones. One of my favorite drivers, a good friend of mine at Walmart Transportation, drove an 18-wheeler over 3 million miles without an accident. And he had an accident he never had an accident involving hitting him or he hitting anyone else. And I asked him, I said, how did you do that? Because that's almost unheard of. And he said, well, Mr. David, all I try to do when I'm driving down the road, I just try to help the motorist around me get to where they're going. That may mean I need to slow down. It may need to take the next exit, take a break. It may mean I take a day off. But I just try to help the motorist around me get to where they're going. And I figure if I can help them get to where they're going, I can go anywhere I want to go safely, successfully, and without a scratch. I just think that's a great philosophy. Pretty much a good philosophy for life, really. Pretty much the golden rule.
Yep. If you can help other people get where they're going, your relationships are probably going to be a lot better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, David, thank you so much. This has been such a great look at the industry. It's been great to hear some of your own experiences and the things that led you into it. And I think the advice that you're giving for students is just really, really helpful. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your work as a career coach. And just thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Rory.
Pathway.